Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are undertaking what I think is a really critical analysis of the forces that are reshaping, well, the entire internet's economy.
It feels that big, doesn't it?
It really does. We're talking about the profound influence of artificial intelligence and generative search on how we all find information, and we're calling the phenomenon that's resulting from this the Great Decoupling.
The Great Decoupling is, I think, the perfect term for it. It's this central, completely unavoidable paradox that's just dominating the digital landscape right now in late 2025.
So what is that paradox exactly?
Well, you have these two core metrics, search volume and website traffic, and they are moving in completely opposite directions. It's unprecedented.
Right.
So on the one hand, search engine usage is still soaring. People are querying Google, they're using other platforms more than ever before. But at the exact same time, the clicks, the very thing that is the financial foundation, the lifeblood of the entire content publishing world, they're declining at a really alarming rate.
Yeah. It genuinely feels like two separate, almost unequal economies that are trying to operate on the same infrastructure.
That's a great way to put it.
Our traditional content engines are, frankly, struggling. But the overall search market itself is booming. So our mission today is to distill the latest, most cutting-edge, and honestly, often contradictory data. We've pulled this from major analytical studies that were conducted all through the last quarter of 2025, and our goal is to give you a clear, non-overwhelming understanding of where discovery is actually headed.
And we're here to provide that clarity, but I think more importantly, a new strategic framework. We have to answer the pivotal question, the one that everyone running a website or a digital business or any content operation that relies on organic discovery is asking.
Which is?
What do you optimize for when the majority of your users stop clicking through to your site?
And the sheer scale of this paradox is what makes it so urgent. Let's start by just laying out the hard numbers that really define this decoupling.
Yeah, the central conflict in the data is it's undeniable. You've got this incredible growth in search volume paired with these devastating losses in traffic. So daily Google searches are up significantly.
How significantly are we talking?
Analysts are estimating Google is now processing somewhere between 9.1 billion and 13.6 billion searches per day in 2025.
That is just a staggering figure. I mean, for context, we were at about 8.5 billion searches per day in 2024.
Right.
So even if you take the low end of that estimate, the 9.1 billion, we're still seeing a roughly 7% year-over-year increase in daily volume.
And if you take the higher estimate,
If you take the 13.6 billion, that's a 60% increase in volume. The engine is pulling more queries than it ever has before.
precisely, the traffic is there, the user intent is there, the habit is stronger than ever, but, and this is the huge but,
Right.
simultaneously, the median content publisher, so the websites that traditionally relied on that massive volume of traffic, they experienced a median 10% year-over-year traffic decline in just the first half of 2025.
10% across the board.
And it gets worse. If you segment that data and look specifically at non-news content sites, like evergreen B2B blogs or lifestyle magazines, the decline jumps even further to a 14% loss.
Wow. So if the engine is pumping out potentially 60% more search volume, and yet the average publisher is losing 10 to 14% of their traffic, that confirms the decoupling.
It's the definition of it.
The growth is just not being transferred to the content ecosystem. It's being absorbed somewhere in the middle. And that brings us right to the core mechanism driving this absorption, the zero-click reality.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanics of that absorption, because the core mechanism is something we've tracked for years, but its acceleration due to AI is, well, it's profound. We're talking about a zero-click search.
Before we dive into the AI layer, let's just define the baseline. What was the zero-click environment like even before this AI explosion?
A zero-click search is exactly what it sounds like. A user types in a query, and they get the answer they need directly on the search results page, the SRP, without ever having to click through to a single website link.
The information is satisfied right there on Google's
Oh,
property.
exactly. And we are now far, far past the tipping point where this is the norm, not the exception. The baseline data for 2025 shows that 60% of all Google searches now conclude without the user executing a single click.
60%. That is a profound number. So for every 10 searches someone does, 6 of them are resulting in zero external traffic for anyone.
6 out of 10.
I was particularly struck by the mobile data where, user expectation for instant gratification is just so much higher.
The mobile data is truly indicative of where the future is headed. On mobile searches, where screen space is at a premium and the whole user experience just demands immediate answers,
Right.
the zero-click rate reaches an astonishing 77%.
77.
Yeah. Think about that mobile experience. You see a featured snippet, maybe a carousel or a knowledge panel, and you just swipe or navigate away. You're solving a small, immediate problem.
And clicking a blue link, waiting for a site to load, navigating some busy mobile layout, that's now considered a friction point.
A major friction point. And now all of those existing zero-click features, the snippets and the panels, they've been joined and are rapidly being superseded by the primary accelerant in all this, Google's AI overviews.
Right, the AIOs.
Precisely. This is Google's big generative AI response, driven by their Gemini model, and it's placed right at the apex of the results page. These AI overviews are designed specifically to synthesize the answer for the user, so they never have to leave. And we saw an incredibly aggressive rollout schedule throughout 2025.
How fast was that rollout? Because speed is everything in a transformation like this.
The expansion was relentless. I mean, even with some localized periods of instability or, adjustments. When 2025 began back in January, AIILO coverage was present for about 6.49% of search queries.
Okay, so a small fraction.
A small but significant fraction. But by March 2025, that figure had rocketed to 13.14% of queries.
So it doubled.
It's a 102% increase in deployment coverage in just 60 days.
Doubling coverage in 2 months. That tells you that even if Google, moderates the visibility in certain controversial areas, the AIO is not a test. This is rapidly becoming a standard component of the search results page.
Absolutely. So what's the current penetration and engagement looking like now towards the end of the year?
Well, the current aggregate analysis shows that AI overviews appear in roughly 18% of global Google searches today.
Okay, almost 1 in 5.
But more critically, Google itself reported back in Q2 of 2025 that 2 billion monthly users globally are now actively engaging with AI overviews.
2 billion. That's a massive, sticky user base that is actively adopting this new discovery layer. They're getting used to it.
In these AIOs, they were designed to satisfy informational needs, which is why they initially targeted all those long-tail questions. But are we seeing them creep into more commercially vital areas?
Yes, and that's the next critical phase. While AIOs primarily triggered on informational queries, it was about 88% of the time in early 2025. The data shows they are rapidly expanding into commercial and navigational intent.
What does that mean in practice?
It signals Google's clear commitment to making the AIO the definitive answer mechanism, even for questions that previously required multiple comparison clicks. So if a user asks, which CRM is best for a small B2B team in Q4, Google wants to synthesize that answer right then and there.
That makes perfect sense. Google is forcing the issue within its own search environment. But the AI adoption story goes far beyond just Google. We have to look at the independent, dedicated large language models, the LLMs, that are establishing themselves as parallel search destinations.
Absolutely. You have to think of ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude. They're like alternate entry points to the web, and they're bypassing Google entirely.
And ChatGPT is the 800-pound gorilla in that room.
It is the clear market leader, holding an 81% share of the AI chatbot market. And it processes an absolutely colossal number of prompts. We're talking 2.5 billion prompts each day, globally.
2.5 billion.
Yeah. And even if only, say, a third of those prompts are for informational searches, that is still hundreds of millions of daily discovery queries that entirely bypass the traditional link-based Google model.
And who is driving this rapid shift toward AI native discovery? Is this still just early adopters, or is it a broader demographic change?
It's rapidly becoming a mass market behavior, but the trend is overwhelmingly generational. Data shows that nearly 40% of Americans are using at least one AI chatbot monthly.
Okay, so that's broad adoption.
But the usage is led overwhelmingly by Gen Z and millennials. And for Gen Z specifically, the data reveals they now default to AI platforms for 31%, nearly a third of their total searches.
A third of their searches don't start on Google.
A third. They view the LLM interface not as some special tool, but as a new, more efficient search engine itself. They are bypassing the entire link infrastructure that, previous generations were trained on for decades.
That's a truly staggering data point. 31% of Gen Z searches bypassing the traditional engine. It suggests a future where the starting point for information is conversational, not a list of blue links.
It's a totally different paradigm.
But here's the most mind-bending insight, I think. The one that truly counters that initial simplistic narrative that AI is killing Google. If people are dedicating a third of their queries to platforms like ChatGPT, Surely their Google usage should be declining, right?
Logically, one would assume that. That's
Right.
what everyone thought would happen. But the data from user behavior studies suggests AI is actually acting as a search stimulant rather than a replacement.
Stimulant.
Yeah. The average Google search usage actually increased to 12.6 sessions per week for users after they began consistently using ChatGPT.
Wait, say that again?
Their weekly Google sessions went up to 12.6. That compares to 10.5 weekly sessions they used to conduct before they adopted a chatbot.
That's a 20% increase in weekly search sessions on Google. How do we explain that? Is AI just making people more curious or more demanding of information?
I think it's a combination of both. People are using ChatGPT for high-level synthesis, for complex writing tasks, deep comparative research. That's about 77% of all the use cases. But the conversational nature of AI seems to be prompting them to ask more questions overall across all platforms.
So they might use the LLM to refine a complex multi-step query,
Right.
and then take that highly refined query back to Google for validation or for a specific commercial intent.
Exactly. Or they are simply uncovering new lines of inquiry they wouldn't have pursued otherwise, and the AI opens up new avenues for them to explore.
So the total addressable market for search is actually expanding because of AI, but the pie is being sliced very, very differently.
And the publishers are getting the raw deal.
Which leads us directly to the brutal reality of the click-through rate collapse.
That behavioral shift you just described, the increased volume, the conversational pre-qualification, and that AIO absorption, it is absolutely brutal when we look at the numbers tied to website viability, click-through rates.
This is where the great decoupling hits the immediate bottom line for so many businesses.
It's where the pain is felt.
So let's get into the hard data on the CTR collapse, specifically driven by AI overviews. What did those late 2025 studies on millions of impressions reveal?
The results are, well, they're unambiguous and frankly terrifying for anyone with the traditional content reliance. We saw that organic CTR, the rate at which users are clicking the traditional blue links for queries where an AIO is present, has dropped a staggering 61% year over year.
61%.
It fell from an already low 1.76%.
Which was nothing to write home about to begin with.
Exactly. And it fell down to a meager 0.61%.
Less than 1%. I mean, just think about that for a second. If your content ranks in position 1, which used to basically guarantee you 20, maybe 25% of the traffic.
Right, the jackpot.
That position is now worth less than 1% of the potential clicks when an AI overview is sitting above it. That fundamentally destroys the long-standing value of a ranking strategy.
It completely upends it. And if you thought organic was bad, you have to look at paid search.
Because paid advertising is supposed to be immune to these organic shifts, right? The ads are, by definition, commercial.
That's the theory. Yet paid CTR plunged an astounding 68% on those exact same queries that trigger an AI overview. It dropped from 19.7% down to 6.34%.
A 68% drop in paid CTR, that's shocking. It means that the prominent trust-inducing position of the AI summary is not only swallowing the organic clicks, but it's making paid ads significantly less effective.
For that cohort of high-information, AI-satisfied users, yes. It suggests that if the AI satisfies the user's need for comparison or information, they are far, far less likely to trust a standard paid link that follows it.
The user has been satisfied.
The need for the click is minimized. The AIO functions as this massive, trust-laden billboard at the very top of the page, and it makes both the organic results and the generic paid links feel like secondary, almost untrustworthy options.
And the data confirms that this is a holistic change in user behavior, right? It's not just a problem specific to pages with AIOs.
That's the critical evidence proving that this is a generational, holistic behavioral change. It goes far beyond just a specific Google feature placement.
So what about queries without an AIO?
Even on traditional queries with just, the old featured snippets or knowledge panels, organic CTR fell 41% across the board. The conclusion is inescapable. Users are simply clicking less everywhere.
Everywhere.
Whether they find an answer in a snippet, or they migrate to platforms like TikTok or Reddit for search, or they move their queries to dedicated LLMs like ChatGPT, the habit of clicking the blue link is dying.
And we have data reinforcing that people are they're finishing their search session faster when AI is involved.
Yeah, absolutely. When an AI answer is prominently shown on the SRP, users tend to end their search session immediately, 26% of the time. A quarter of the time, they're just done. They're done. Contrast that with results pages without any AI overviews, where users end their session only 16% of the time. The difference is 10 percentage points of instant search abandonment.
So for nearly 1 in 4 AI-driven searches, the journey is ending at the answer provided by Google, not at the content creator's website.
And that's the traffic that's gone forever.
To ground this catastrophic data in a real-world consequence, let's look at the HubSpot case study. I mean, this was an SEO powerhouse, an industry leader, yet they suffered a massive, almost existential loss of traffic. What were the mechanics of their failure?
The HubSpot case study became the industry's central warning signal, especially for B2B content operations. HubSpot, long considered a global leader in SEO and content marketing.
They wrote the book on it, literally.
They did. And they saw a horrifying 70% to 80% decline in their organic traffic during that transition period of late 2024 into 2025. Their monthly organic visits plummeted from around 13.5 million to, in some months, as low as 6 million.
And the knee-jerk reaction would be to just blame Google's algorithms, but the multiple deep analyses that followed, they identified a core fatal strategy error. What was it?
Their traffic engine was built almost entirely on generic, top-of-funnel content that had very, very little connection to their core product, which is their CRM platform.
Right. So what kind of content are we talking about?
Think of the stuff they optimize for. Pages on famous sales quotes or cover letter examples or how to get a real estate license. This content was designed purely for volume, to capture a massive audience who might eventually become a customer, but it lacked any deep intrinsic connection to their core expertise.
And then when Google's 2024 algorithm updates started heavily prioritizing content tied to a website's genuine EEAT experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, HubSpot's generic volume-based content was just systematically devalued.
It was doubly devalued. First, by the algorithm prioritizing sites that actually sold insurance for insurance topics or developed software for software topics.
Makes sense.
And second, and this is crucial for our deep dive today, that generic information was the easiest kind of content for an AI overview to replicate and summarize perfectly.
Which eliminates the need for a click.
Completely. If you ask for a list of sales quotes, the AIO can provide it instantly without needing to link to a 3,000-word blog post about it.
So the message is chillingly clear. If your content is generic, if it exists only for traffic volume, it is now destined to become LLM training fodder, not a traffic source.
Exactly.
But this leads us to the crucial pivot. The single piece of data that offers not just survival, but a way to thrive in this new world, the citation reward.
This is, and I'm not exaggerating, the single most strategically valuable piece of information we have right now. A study from Seer Interactive found that brands that are explicitly cited in AI overviews, they completely and utterly defy the negative trend we just detailed.
So being cited acts as a massive validation signal.
A huge one.
How does that validation translate into actual performance?
It translates into this. Cited brands earned 35% higher organic CTR and a staggering 91% higher paid CTR compared to non-cited brands that are competing on the exact same search query page.
Wait, help me understand the mechanism there. If you are cited in the AIO, which means Google has already provided the answer, why do your paid ads get almost double the clicks? That seems counterintuitive.
Because the citation creates this massive moat of credibility and trust that users implicitly rely on. The user is basically saying, okay, the AI summary was helpful, but if I need to dive deeper or actually make a transaction, I am going to trust the source that Google itself validated as authoritative.
So the citation acts like a third-party endorsement from the most powerful gatekeeper on the internet.
The ultimate endorsement.
So if you're cited, you don't just survive the CTR collapse, you actually outperform the entire legacy system. This means the metric of success is shifting entirely away from just ranking position.
It absolutely is. Success is no longer about achieving the rank #1 in the blue links, which, as we established, might only capture 0.61% of clicks when an AIO is present.
It's almost a vanity metric now.
It really is. The strategic goal shifts to achieving that prominent AI citation. And the clicks you do receive are no longer just generic discovery clicks. They are high-quality, pre-qualified validation clicks from users who are ready to engage or research or transact based on the authority signal you just received.
That idea of a high-quality, pre-qualified validation click that leads us directly into the great paradox shaping the next decade of digital strategy. And that's the tension between AI traffic quality and Google volume.
We have to maintain a clear perspective on the current volume because it's really easy to get carried away by the existential fears of the CTR collapse.
Right, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly. The fact remains that AI search platforms, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, they currently drive a minuscule fraction of global internet traffic. I mean, we're talking less than 1%. Some detailed analyses show figures as low as 0.15% across many industries.
And organic search, for all its problems, still reigns supreme in raw volume. It drives 48.5% of global internet traffic. So Google volume remains the foundation that funds almost every content operation in existence today. We can't just abandon it.
Correct. You can't. But the tiny trickle of traffic that is coming from these AI platforms, it carries an incredible conversion advantage. And this is where we introduce the conversion paradox. AI traffic converts significantly, strategically better.
How significant are we talking about here? Is it a minor bump?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Analysis of millions of website visits reveals that AI-referred traffic converts, on average, 4 to 5 times better than traditional Google organic traffic. This isn't a small margin. This is a fundamental difference in the quality of the user.
4 to 5 times. Let's nail down the specific rates. What does the conversion analysis look like when you actually break it down?
The average AI visitor converts at a massive 14.2%. Compare that to Google's traditional average of 2.8%.
Wow, okay.
And breaking it down by platform, we see Claude leading the pack with the highest conversion rate at 16.8%.
Yeah.
Then you've got ChatGPT at 14.2% and Perplexity at 12.4%. This traffic is demonstrably more valuable on a per session basis.
So we're not just talking theory.
Not at all. We've seen anecdotal reports of clients seeing things like a 127% increase in attributed orders and tens of thousands of dollars in new revenue, all from this high-quality, though still low-volume AI traffic stream.
So the core question is, why? Why does this massive difference exist? Why are AI users essentially pre-qualified before they even hit the site?
The difference is entirely in the user's journey stage. Think of the traditional user journey. An organic search user is often really high up the funnel. They're searching general keywords like best marketing software or how to fix X. They're still exploring.
Right. They need to click several links, read multiple comparison articles, and spend time on-site moving from the top of the funnel down to a decision point.
Exactly. The AI search user, conversely, enters the funnel at the research and exploration stage with the AI platform itself. They are asking complex, comparative, or multi-step queries directly to the LLM.
Like what?
Like, compare the pros and cons of ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, and Salesforce for a startup, or summarize the return policy for this specific product based on 3 different store policies.
So they use the LLM to narrow their choices. They're essentially completing the top and mid-funnel research before they ever click a link.
It's like having a dedicated personal research assistant who hands you a short list of 3 perfect pre-vetted options.
That's the perfect analogy.
They arrive at the website closer to the point of transaction, having already done the comparisons, the fact-finding, and the trust-building via the AI assistant. They skip multiple steps in the traditional sales cycle.
And this structural shift explains why content that converts, things like case studies, pricing pages, specific product comparisons, now tends to get the highest AI referral traffic, while that generic top-of-funnel stuff is seeing those massive traffic drops we talked about earlier.
It's a complete inversion of the old model.
This fundamentally shifts the competitive game from a traffic volume war to conversion quality war. And this huge quality difference allows us to forecast a massive strategic tipping point.
It does.
What is the informal analysis estimating for when AI conversions will match or even surpass Google's?
The math here is really crucial for strategic planning. Because AI traffic converts roughly 5 times better than Google traffic, it doesn't need 50% of the total search market share to match Google's conversion volume.
Right. It doesn't need to win on volume.
Not at all. It only needs about 25% of the total search traffic volume to potentially match 75% of Google's current conversion volume. That's incredible leverage.
So conversion parity, the moment when AI drives an equal dollar value in conversions to Google, is not about traffic parity. It's about conversion leverage based on user quality.
Exactly.
And that makes the timeline much, much shorter than many people might think.
Much shorter. Based on informal calculations using the current explosive growth rates. I mean, we saw AI traffic grow 527% year over year in one 19-site study comparing early 2024 to early 2025. Analysts estimate this conversion parity.
The point where AI is strategically as important as Google.
Could occur between late 2027 and early 2028.
That timeline is the strategic window for every single business. It's a clear 18 to 24-month window starting right now to establish authority, accumulate citations, and position your brand before AI becomes the primary, most valuable conversion driver.
Absolutely. If you wait until 2028, The early movers will have compounded their citation advantage for 2 years, and catching up will be nearly impossible.
The strategic calculus is simple then. What is the single biggest mistake a company can make right now in late 2025?
It is prioritizing volume metrics over conversion quality metrics. If you're still chasing generic top-of-funnel clicks, you're optimizing for a dying economy. You need to be optimizing for authority that drives high-quality, pre-qualified conversions.
The integrated approach is clearly the only way forward. We have to move past this idea of SEO versus AI and define the new hybrid strategic imperative that embraces this zero-click reality.
The new imperative is not replacement, it's integration. We are defining the future as three foundational, interlocking layers of optimization: SEO plus AEO plus GDO.
Okay, let's define these layers clearly for everyone listening, starting with the base layer, SEO. Is it dead?
Not at all. SEO, or search engine optimization, remains the absolute foundation, and neglecting it is corporate suicide. It is vital for technical health, for ensuring your site is crawlable, indexable, and fast.
And it's also responsible for the massive volume that still funds operations today.
Exactly. Google still processes over 16 billion queries a day, and 95% of Americans still use traditional engines. SEO ensures your infrastructure is sound and that you're catching the massive volume that will continue to exist for the foreseeable future.
Okay, so SEO is the foundation. Then layer 2 is AEO, or answer engine optimization. This sounds like the optimization for that original zero-click world.
That's a good way to think of it. AEO focuses specifically on optimizing content for direct, quick answers. We're talking classic featured snippets and voice search results.
So short and to the point.
AEO aims to be the content that is selected for the immediate, concise response. Those 30 to 50 word answer blocks that were the original form of immediate satisfaction. This is achieved largely through specific structured data and highly condensed factual content.
And finally, the new and strategically vital layer, GEO, or generative engine optimization.
GEO is the optimization focused purely on being selected, synthesized, and explicitly cited by large language models, whether that's Google's AI overviews, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or others. GEO recognizes that success is about maximizing citation frequency and authority validation, not maximizing generic traffic volume. This is the new frontier.
So now we need the playbook for GEO. What specific measurable signals do the AI models prioritize when they're choosing which content to cite? We know it's not the old keyword density game.
Far from it. In fact, that old playbook is now a liability. A Princeton study found that the old SEO trick of keyword stuffing now actively decreases AI visibility by 9%.
So it actually hurts you.
It actively hurts you. The models are sophisticated. They are looking for verifiable signals of quality, authority, and synthesis readiness.
Let's start with the fundamental strategic signal then. Authority, the famous EEAT.
EAT, which stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, is absolutely paramount for GEO. Content must not just be expert written. It has to demonstrate genuine, first-hand experience, that first E.
Which was a huge part of Google's 2024 updates.
Huge. It heavily penalized sites lacking this. For instance, if you're writing a software review, the algorithm needs signals that a human actually used the software, not just read the spec sheet.
So how do we demonstrate this EET to an LLM or an AIO? How do you prove it?
Well, one of the strongest signals is external validation and direct personal sourcing. That same Princeton study showed that incorporating expert, quotes, actual, verifiable industry authorities speaking directly in your content boosted AI visibility by an impressive 41%.
41%.
AI systems want to reference content written by people who know what they are talking about and that they can then verify by scanning the web for the cited expert's reputation. You need to interview, quote, and feature real specialists.
And that means the content has to be verifiable, which leads us right to the second major factor, fact density and sourcing.
Exactly. AI systems are designed to minimize hallucination. That means they have to prioritize sources that make grounding their answers in factual reality easy and trustworthy.
So you have to make it easy for them.
You do. Content featuring concrete data with proper inline attribution is 3.7 times more likely to earn AI citations than generic informational content. Clear statistics, properly formatted inline citations. They delivered a 30% improvement in AI visibility in those studies.
So your content should look less like a persuasive essay.
And more like a high-quality academic report. Verifiable. Factual.
That's a massive multiplier. Now let's talk about the actual content format. Is a long-form 5,000-word narrative still preferred, or is it something more structured?
Structure is king. This is arguably the most practical change you can implement today. Structured content is the most effective format for AI search visibility because it provides easily extractable data points for the LLM's semantic scoring mechanism.
What does that look like in practice?
It means aggressive use of clear headings, H2s and H3s. It means defining terms early, using bulleted lists, incorporating FAQs, and presenting key data in tables.
So you need to write content that is designed for easy extraction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The LLM must be able to lift a concise, fact-rich, citation-ready passage that can stand alone as a direct answer. If your key information is buried in the middle of a dense paragraph, the LLM's semantic scoring may just skip over it in favor of a competitor who put that same information in a clear H3 or a table cell.
So optimization for GEO is optimization for clarity and extractability.
That's it.
And what about timing? Does old, deeply authoritative content still win, or is AI prioritizing recency?
AI platforms demonstrate a clear bias toward content freshness. They prefer to cite pages that are, on average, 25.7% newer than those that appear in traditional organic search results.
Interesting. Why is that?
It's likely because AI systems are trained to provide the most current, relevant information available. This makes regular content refreshes, updates with the latest data, and new publication strategies crucial levers for AI visibility. You have to demonstrate that your knowledge base is current.
Okay, so now we pivot. We move from what we do on our own domains to the signals that are outside our domain, the external authority factor. This seems to be where the major strategic pivot lies.
This is the biggest departure from traditional SEO. Visibility in the AI layer depends heavily on signals that are generated outside your website. The data shows brands are 6.5 times more likely to be cited through third-party sources than their own primary domains.
6.5 times. This means your content strategy is now inherently inseparable from your public relations and your broader brand strategy.
Exactly. We need to talk about digital PR and branded mentions. These are incredibly powerful for AI validation.
What's the data there?
Branded web mentions. So when third-party authoritative publications talk about your company or your product, they have the greatest correlation with AIO appearances, a strong 0.664 correlation score. This far surpasses the correlation score of traditional backlinks, which is only 0.218.
Why are branded mentions so much more powerful than backlinks in this context?
Because backlinks primarily signal link equity and traditional domain authority. That's the old model. Branded mentions, particularly from high-authority news sites or industry publications, they signal market authority and trustworthiness to the LLMs.
It's social proof.
It's powerful social proof. When trusted external sources reference you, the AI sees that as a signal that you are a genuine industry leader, and therefore a trustworthy source for its synthesized answers.
And finally, the prevalence of community sources is something we just cannot ignore when we're optimizing for LLMs.
Absolutely not. The data repeatedly shows that Wikipedia and Reddit are among the most frequently cited domains in both AI overviews and ChatGPT.
Why those two specifically?
Because they often provide high-density, conversational, highly specific, and, unbiased, or at least perceived as unbiased information that reflects genuine user experience and comparative knowledge.
That means brands must now engage strategically in these forums, not just to, police their reputation, but to ensure that accurate, positive, citation-ready information exists where AI systems are drawing massive chunks of their knowledge.
For sure. If a key product comparison on Reddit is wrong, that wrong information might feed millions of AI responses about your product.
It's a complete shift in resource allocation. You have to invest in content that is designed for external validation and syndication, focusing on EAT and structure, knowing that the real reward is a high-quality conversion citation, not a mass-volume traffic click.
If the old playbook is obsolete, then the old metrics are now, at best, incomplete. The data confirms it. Traditional metrics like clicks and rankings are no longer full measures of success.
Because the act of influence now happens before the click even occurs.
They're lagging indicators. Your content could be effectively informing thousands of AI-generated responses every day, shaping user opinion, providing facts, and driving decision-making, all without generating a single session in your Google Analytics.
So you're influencing the market, but that influence is invisible if you only measure traffic volume.
Completely invisible.
So we need new critical metrics for the AI era. What should we be focusing on now?
We need to focus on two key metrics that quantify authority: citation frequency and AI share of voice, SOV. Citation frequency is pretty simple. You're just tracking how often your content is explicitly cited, either by name or by URL, in AI responses across different platforms.
An AI share of voice sounds like a far more strategic market-based metric.
It is. AI Share a Voice measures how often your brand is mentioned or recommended or selected in AI answers compared to your direct competitors when a user asks a query in your category.
Can you give an example?
Sure. If the AI is asked for the best 3 accounting software packages for small business, and you are one of the 3 mentioned, you own roughly 33% of that answer's SOV. This metric tracks real market presence and authority, which, given that 4 or 5x conversion advantage, is far more valuable than a generic click.
And the need for this multi-platform approach optimizing for citation frequency and AI SOV is reinforced by the fact that the different AI platforms source information almost completely differently. There is a profound LLM disconnect.
The sourcing patterns are wildly divergent. For example, only about 13.7% of citations actually overlap between Google's AI overviews and its own conversational AI mode within the search app.
So even Google's own tools don't agree.
They prioritize different signals. But here's the most fascinating disconnect that really validates the need for GEO. ChatGPT search primarily cites low-ranking pages content in position 21 and beyond about 90% of the time.
That's truly astonishing. Pages that Google's traditional algorithm has deemed low authority, maybe buried on page 3 of the SRP, are being chosen by ChatGPT as the best source of information. Why?
Because the AI systems are prioritizing depth, semantic relevance, and specific structured answers over Google's traditional link authority hierarchy. They are not simply scraping the top 10 results.
So they're doing their own homework.
They are. The data shows that 80% of LLM citations across ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Copilot don't even rank in Google's top 100 for the original query. The LLMs are conducting independent retrieval and evaluation, finding hyper-specific, well-structured, fact-dense content, regardless of the domain's legacy authority score.
This confirms that the AI layer is looking for quality content, not necessarily the most authoritative website as defined by traditional SEO.
That's the key takeaway.
Looking ahead, let's briefly discuss the expected evolution for 2026 and beyond.
I think we're going to see rapid acceleration in 3 specific areas. First, the AIO expansion is shifting focus directly toward monetization. Early 2025 AIOs were 91% informational. By the end of the year, that had fallen to 57%.
So where is the growth?
AI. Overviews are extending rapidly into commercial queries, which are now 18% of triggers, and navigational queries, which grew to over 10% of triggers. Commercial decision-making is now heavily mediated by AI, which means the stakes for getting a citation are rising dramatically.
And of course, the platforms are figuring out how to monetize this new layer, as they always do.
Yes. New advertising models are inevitable, and they're growing explosively. Ads alongside AI overviews grew from only about 3% in January 2025 to roughly 40% by November 2025.
A huge jump.
We are seeing integrated AI-powered shopping ads and sponsored content directly within the AI answers, signaling the full and rapid monetization of this generative search layer.
Finally, the big existential question for content creators. If clicks dry up entirely, how does content get paid for? Does the ad-supported traffic model completely collapse?
That leads to the necessary discussion of new business models, primarily content licensing. We anticipate future models where LLMs and search platforms may end up paying publishers directly for access to their high-authority, fact-dense content.
A completely different model.
It shifts the business model from being traffic-driven advertising to one based on content licensing fees, citation fees, or some kind of revenue-sharing structure, similar to how platforms like YouTube or Spotify monetize creators.
So the value of content in the future may be in the authority and trustworthiness it lends to the LLM.
Rather than the raw visitor volume it attracts to the website.
Exactly. This has been an absolutely critical deep dive into the data charting the monumental complexities of the AI search landscape. Thank you for helping us chart this new integrated reality of SEO, AEO, and GEO.
It's a seismic historical shift, and the data provides a surprisingly clear map for the opportunity provided businesses act now.
So the final takeaway for you, the learner, is that strategic timeline. The time for experimentation is essentially over. The data shows the next 18 to 24 months from late 2025 into 2027, are absolutely crucial for establishing AI authority and positioning your content before that conversion tipping point potentially arrives. You have to act now. You need to stop chasing volume and start optimizing for structure, for EEET, and for citation now.
The companies that thrive will be those that accept the zero-click reality and successfully integrate traditional technical SEO with the demanding new standards of generative engine optimization.
That's it for this week. If you found this discussion valuable, make sure you go check out our resources linked in the show notes, and please subscribe to our channels and let's start a conversation on LinkedIn.